Man, salute to Cam Newton. And even though they're getting a lot of flack in the, I guess it's more male space community, I'll give a salute to Dr. Bryant. Um, I haven't had time to do an extensive like background deep dive on their history, but in what I've seen from the Instagram page, it's to be desired. But I still think this, even based on the conversations that I've heard between them and Cam Newton and her and Nick Cannon, they seem like a person that can hold a conversation, that is receptive to different ideas, a person that has a bit of life experience to be able to speak to some of these subjects. And I'm assuming if they're calling themselves a doctor, they have some type of credentials. But um, uh, again, Sutakam, this and Suta the Shade Room, they posted this clip from this interview or this podcast that they were having, this conversation they were having, and the caption is Cam Newton says he wants more children. My desire to get married is lower than my fear of divorce. Let's see what the conversation sounds like. We'll play a bit of it.
Jeez, it didn't work. Thanks.
I think that I'm not high function.
What situation?
Okay, so I'm not married. I have beautiful children.
How many?
8.
By how
8.
many women?
3. And this is the kicker. I want more.
By multiple women? What's the intent?
I
You
just want
saying,
God
about
to
your
bring
wife?
them. I just want God to bring them.
Oh, okay.
My desire to get married is lower than my fear of divorce. So, as you had said, Dr. Bryant, you said it, I didn't say it, I will agree. I'm just taking my time.
You're not taking your time.
I am, though.
You're being very action-based. You're not taking your time.
I'm taking my time.
You're being very action-based. You have 8 kids with 3 different women.
Yes.
You are creating, procreating, and multiplying. That is not taking your time. You're being very selectively active. Okay? So you're creating, and disclaimer, the kids are innocent, they are beautiful and amazing. Anything I say has nothing to do with them babies. But you are proactively choosing where you want.
Okay. Get a little taste of what the conversation sounds like. We can continue.
Them babies, but you are proactively choosing where you want to be active at and where you want to take your time. You want to take your time in having a wife because of your own fears. But you will, and I say this with all respect and love, what I'm about to say next, okay, Cam? But you will selfishly create broken families, even if you're in their life and you're a proactive father, and I believe you're an amazing daddy. I can only imagine with just your presence and knowing you. But these families are still broken. Every child cannot have Papa in the house with them. So some child, if not all will end up with some kind of deficit without daddy being there. Now, you chose to do that. I'm not saying you sat there and woke up one morning and said, I want to be selfish today, so I'm going to go make a baby. Not saying that at all. But those are selfish acts at the expense of your fear. And yeah, that is a low functioning behavior to say that I'm going to build these houses and put kids and these beautiful women and kids in them, but I ain't going to create a home and
Why did I start in a second tab from the end?
I mean, that's where the conversation happens. But what's the first one? It might have been like what somebody's response was from it.
I have no idea, obviously.
Oh yeah,
Anything happening?
yeah. This is I think Cam's latest child's mother, and him having a good old time. And I think Shayram just kind of pieced all this together, for just to show that he's still having a grand old time with one of his child's mothers, even after that conversation. But you can go back a couple of tabs to where it's had the caption. So yeah, this got a little attention, and yeah, I'm just kind of curious to know what y'all thoughts is in general. Obviously, I think this conversation going a lot of ways. I think what both parties are saying is not it has no basis to it. I think we can somewhat understand Cam's point and then understand the response that Dr. Bryant is saying. yeah, I guess in general, what's your thoughts on what the conversation started to sound like, and do you think there's a right and a wrong here? Do you and specifically, and also, what do you specifically kind of think of that notion? Which I've been actually saying. I don't know if I came here and said it on this record, but I've been saying for a while. Like people are getting married less these days. We know that, and I think a part of it is because of the concern of divorce, even though divorce is so it's interesting. Like people don't want to get divorced, and there's like a concern, or he flat out said a fear of it. But then people are just getting divorced, like, and obviously not in a lot of these divorces. It's not like it's equal on both sides. People want the divorce, but they are happening. So it is kind of interesting. So yeah, I'm curious to know what y'all think of the different dynamics of what they're both saying, and also what do you think of this quote unquote fear that a person could have about divorce and preventing them from getting married? What do you think, Ghost?
Um, I think that I suppose they both had valid or a valid, understandable way of looking at it. I'll say I
Anyone
do
sound like they're making
agree.
more sense than other?
I was getting that. Uh, Dr. Bryan, I think, kind of encapsulated it best. My feelings on it. At first, I guess speaking from Cam's perspective, in his situation with him being a millionaire, multimillionaire, successful, rich, blah blah blah, he has a very understandable fear of divorce. I don't know if that's rooted in just like dealing with women wanting him just for his money and dealing with trying to take his assets, or if it's something else. But just from the outside looking in, it is very understandable to have that fear. And in his mind, it seems like the solution is that he does want children. And instead of, which I think is a better alternative than being with a woman and not being committed and pretending to be committed and cheating on the low, he's just straight up not
Well, what's cheating?
being in a committed relationship and not staying committed.
I was
Short
committed.
answer.
It was commitment. Some of these things are facetious. You could ignore me if you want.
Exclusive. If the implication is that you are being exclusive with your wife, girlfriend, whatever,
What's
and
the implication?
implication is that is implied by you being together with the person.
Oof, I don't want to get into back and forth already, but I'm gonna be honest. In this day
I
and
don't I
age,
don't understand where.
in this day and age, and maybe there's nothing to even to go back and forth about. I don't think there's any implication. I think you have to be direct in what you will do, what your
Yes,
commitment is.
it is when okay, yes, it's a direct relationship. Like I don't think we need to get too deep in the weeds here. You are with a woman, girlfriend, wife. There's a title involved, some sort, some classification, and by association, that classification means that you are exclusive to this person. That's my mind. I know a whole lot of other people might have different takes on it, but I don't feel like getting into craziness. So yeah, that's what I'm calling exclusive. So instead of being in a relationship where he puts on the appearance of that, but is really fathering children with other women, and the woman doesn't even know about it. He's just coming out and being direct, not even going the relationship route or the exclusivity route, I should say. I don't know what his relationship is with
Well,
his.
and I guess that's why I interjected, and I do apologize, but I guess that's why I wanted to get clarity, because, and not to hyper focus on Cam, but for all intents and purposes, he could have been doing that, but because it was never stated, that then by the definition of what we're kind of talking about, it could be identified
Yeah,
as not a step
yeah,
outside
I see
relationship.
what you mean.
Like you could do all the relationship stuff and even have a title per se, but if I don't, but unless I say and I'm committed to what I say, and like I'm not gonna romantically or sexually interact with other people, then
Oh, that no, I okay. I see what you're saying. I don't necessarily agree. Again, it's so easy to get lost, especially in the world we live in today, where we're girlfriend and I don't know, I fucking hate saying that. We're girlfriend and boyfriend, but we didn't specifically say we're exclusive. I don't. I know that's what some people could say. I really don't want to delve into that because it's fucking childish to me. But we don't know the ins and outs of his relationship with these women. I guess is what it boils down to. But it seems like what we're getting from this video is that it seems like he's being kind of open.
Now he's being open.
Not yet. This may have come about. He might have been cheating before and no one knew about it. But again, we can only go off of what we knew. And it seems like now he's being open with all parties that are involved.
Yes, any
And
woman dealing with Cam Newton moving forward, you have to move accordingly. Yes.
yeah. So it seems like he's moving in a certain way, like you said, and the woman that he's been with before and are gonna get with the future know what the deal is. So now that we've gotten all that's out the way.
Again, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. I get it. Important to clarify certain things. Like at the end of the day, what it really boils down to is the fact that even if what he is doing is if he's being open again is it's preferable to cheating and being deceptive, but it is not the proper and ideal environment to raise a child in, just for the simple fact of what you said, that you are not able to be present in all the children's lives because you're with your other family and you're split in it three ways, maybe more, who knows. And like it's people talk about people don't like nuclear family, that term anymore, but it's a fact. Like to raise a child accordingly or properly, the most ideal environment is father, mother, any community relation, whatever, family, grandparents, blah blah blah. There's going to be different scenarios, but if a child's being raised in an environment with only his mother, only his father, it is not ideal. That's
Facts.
what it really boils down to. And he might be present as best as he can. And it's not even when I say present, it's not even about like a strictly time thing. Like, let's say he doesn't really need to work at this point because he is again multimillionaire, so he could really do what he wants. He might spend 8 hours, 8 hours, 8 hours with each family, whereas like man that works like a typical 9 to 5 might spend that same 8 hours with their child because of their working and sleeping, all that other stuff. But it's not about just the time; it's about the knowledge that it's not. You can't put full effort into three different families. In my in my opinion, again, we can get
Yeah,
into
that's
multiple
definitely debatable.
marriages and yeah, you can definitely. It's definitely debatable. I'm just kind of speaking from my perspective, and even beyond that, it's like if the child knows that you have another family, that it's not just you can't spend time with them, it's that you're choosing to spend time with another family instead of them, it's going to most likely create some deep-seated issues, even if it's not the intent and even if it's not like a subconscious thing. It kind of is. It is what it is, and actively going about and choosing this lifestyle, while preferable to some other alternatives of not having any responsibility, it is still not the best way to go about things. And I'm not here to give him advice on what he should be doing. all better because he's kind of in this scenario already, and I'm not here to say that he should. I'm telling what steps to take, but from an outsider looking in, that is my perspective on this.
That's fair. We're not necessarily here to talk to Cam directly. We're just in general. Um, yeah, we'll come back to the other part just to give you a chance to think or just take a breath. What do you think about the dynamics of the conversation, Ace? You know, uh, the idea that a person could still want to procreate. Everybody, well, most people, it's safe to say, like humans inherently want that to have the desire to procreate. But married, the desire to get married definitely seems a bit lower these days.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much what Ghost was saying and what the doctor here was saying.
To Dr. Bryant.
Cam, like Dr. Bryant, Cam Newton may very well want to have more children, may want to have children, whatever. So do many other people, but the along with that, like if you don't have the desire to commit to a woman and stick out, I mean not stick out, but like again, just commit to a relationship,
Oh man, the same question is coming up
your
again. What is commitment?
your your desire to have children doesn't, like, it shouldn't outweigh that um the importance of that commitment because of all of the, like, um all of the potential, like, negatives you're introducing into these children's lives,
Oh,
just simply by not being
someone's
a
getting, someone's getting kind of like you're loading things on.
say something. I mean,
Well, I'm
keep
about to. All
saying
right.
stuff.
Okay, I'm just trying to make sure I'm not. I don't want to completely interrupt you, but what do you, again? I would think after we had just talked to Ghost about this, but what do you mean by commitment?
I mean, you say to the woman that you are in a committed relationship. You are only going to be with this woman. This is the woman that you plan to spend the rest of your life with, and there's no, but going to be no other women. Like, I don't understand why this. It has to be said. Like,
Okay. I agree with that part. Things with you, whatever this commitment entails, has to be said. And I'm just kind of just working through your logic here. So you said that you're, and maybe you were just kind of saying this, and maybe there's a kind of a deeper interpretation, but you're saying the desire to have kids shouldn't be greater than that. Like, how do we control what our desires are?
I didn't say it shouldn't be greater, but it shouldn't override the importance of the commitment. Like, you having the kids, you going ahead and having the kids shouldn't be something that you do because, or unless you are willing to take on that commitment first. Like, you might have the desire,
Who
sure,
said?
but don't follow through with it. Is what I'm saying.
I mean, I guess I should stop trying to purposely to pick apart your logic, but there's also just the dynamics of people that are comfortable with this type of uh, arrangement. But
Yeah, the people might be comfortable with it, but that doesn't say anything to the children.
okay, and then we get to this aspect, and you were kind of speaking to this. Well, again, I think we all do generally agree that nuclear family, mom, dad, children, is the will produce the probably the best results. But we can't just sit here and say kids will have an inherently negative experience because they don't have that dynamic, especially when there's extraordinary factors like you do have some hyper successful mother or father, and obviously, I'm never going to come in here and say that wealth or status is going to be able to replace the love and nurturing and being there that you get in with the general family. But we do know that the not the style. What's the word I'm looking for? The type of life that can be afforded to a child it can be boosted in some ways by your status or your place in life. And again, I'm not even trying to focus on Cam himself, but I think if we're having a conversation, and I don't think people should ever have the conversation of multiple kids or multiple wives or multiple families in general, unless you have you're in like the top like 1%. I think there. I don't think we can just blanket say a child will have a negative experience because of the certain dynamic. Is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, you want to say your perspective then? Because I don't, like, I don't understand what or why you're pushing back
Let's not act
on what
like
I'm saying.
this. It's not the first time you're doing a podcast with me. What do I consistently do? I'm consistently trying to challenge logic. But sorry. To be honest, I don't really have a hot take, or at least I don't have a hot take I haven't said before. My hot take is always I 100% can understand the dynamic of men wanting to be fruitful and multiply, and preferably with different women. My thing is always just you gotta have them under one roof, and that's incredibly hard in this day and age. But
Hold up.
that's the best. That's how you gotta do it.
So I had a couple. Well, I won't go too deep into this, but I had a question in general. But first, I have a question for you. You to clarify, you did say you do think it's preferable to have multiple wives, or
I don't know if
multiple different mothers of your children. Did I hear
I
that
don't know
right,
if I
or did
would
I
I don't
misinterpret?
know if I would say it's preferable, but I would say most men would prefer to have multiple wives. Correct.
Oh, you said. Oh, okay. As in most. So, do you? Just this is just
No, I'm on record about that too. I actually don't.
okay.
There's only one fringe scenario in which I would entertain that thought.
Okay. I don't know if I'd say most men would prefer. I think most men prefer that.
I think it's evident by the fact that men are more likely
Yeah,
to
most men would
go
prefer to have
go.
multiple women. I don't know about multiple wives, but
Well,
oh,
that's just an extension of
yeah,
that. You could
yeah.
say multiple partners, multiple
Yeah,
significant
yeah.
others, multiple whatever. I'm just
Got you.
yeah.
Okay, so my question is kind of related to that because we kind of talking about this from the children's perspective. If there were no children involved and he was just it just like this kind of wouldn't work without there being children involved. But if he was just out and open with multiple women that he was with and he didn't have any intent of marrying them, do y'all think that has any long lasting negative effects on either party, or is it different if they're adults and they're actively choosing this specific lifestyle?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, consenting adults can do whatever they damn well please. But looking at it from the perspective of, we are a good old fashioned traditional Israelite podcast here. Yeah, that's some horseshit. What? No, no, you can't do that. Oh,
I
duh.
like that.
What? Okay, you're cruising for a bruising if you do that.
Noted. All right, yeah, that's all.
Um, but yeah, I don't think there's anything that I haven't. I think my position when it comes to multiple families is pretty consistent. But yeah, the other part is yeah. What do you? I'll spin it back. What do you guys think about that concept of like And again, I think this is way more common than a lot of people like to admit. I think it's kind of corny to say it out loud. That's why a lot of men aren't saying it. But what do you think of that concept of fear of divorce? Do you think that's a real thing? Do you have any? Does that ever cross your mind? If we're being transparent, what do you think it is?
I mean, I know it's a real thing. I don't really understand it because prenups are a thing. So
So
just do that. Like,
you're gonna ask your future significant other for a prenup?
yeah.
Wait, okay, wait, hold up. That aside for a second, you you don't have any fear at all, or is it literally just like the asset losses, or from a more personal perspective, Do you have any fear of divorce?
No, it's just asset losses.
But I'm gonna be honest. I'm glad you asked that because that's what I would have said too. Like when we talk about fear of divorce, I don't think men. Well, it probably is a big thing, but I don't think men are specifically looking at it for, hey, I'm gonna lose money because I think I was just. I mean, divorce laws are different depending when you look at. Some places are way more lax about divorce, and some places are way more strict about it. But I think that on average, you have to be with a person for like upwards of 10 years before they even qualify for alimony. To be honest.
Hmm.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I guess the other element could be the whole children thing, like um issues with viewing rights. I'm not viewing rights, but what like all of the
Yeah, custody.
who has what percentage. Yeah, yeah, all of that like
If
that.
you're not if you're not married to
I
your
should.
wife, you don't know who's coming in and out of your child's life.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So I guess I should clarify that too. But at the same time, that's not 100% tied to divorce, because even if you don't get married to the woman and you have children, that's still a problem. So that's not. Yeah, that's even that is not.
Wow.
I wouldn't classify that as the divorce issue. Like, to me, it's purely a financial thing.
Jesus. I would say one of the things I really love about the podcast is I come on here and I learn new things about y'all. Jesus Christ. What about you, Ghost? Do you have an understanding of the? Are you aware and have an understanding of the concept of fear of divorce that people have, and does it ever come across your mind at all?
Um, in a sense, I don't think I would call it a fear of divorce necessarily, or I don't know if fear is even the right term. Any either way, the way I look at it is like not even looking at assets, like it's completely out of my mind. I'm just looking at it from purely a personal perspective where I would say I'm just trying to find the right word. I don't know if tentative is the right word, but or particular, substitute any of those words. But if I'm gonna be with a woman, like marry her, make her my wife, I am like I just can't fathom people rushing into something like that, because for me it's something like I'm naturally a overthinker regardless, and when it comes to finding someone that I theoretically want to spend the rest of my life with, that's something that I would overthink to the death of me and take a lot of time before making that decision. And it kind of ties into, I mean, obviously the big thing is that what if I don't do my due diligence
Mm-hmm.
and turns out that this woman isn't who I want to spend the rest of my life with? Or what if on my end I'm not up to par with how I should be operating, and that leads to the relationship dissolving? That is like pretty much the forefront of in my mind of like before I get into a relationship, I have to have those things ironed out in my head, which again is not directly like a fear of divorce, but it's like I can't contemplate not having that uh reserve and caution. And this is not even bringing into like assets, or because I mean child support and all that is obviously like a whole lot of dudes that pay child support complain about it. Some justified, some not. But exclusive of that, or again, if there are kids involved, it, that's like pretty much the worst case scenario I can think of for how my life plays out, where I get divorced and I have a kid and be in the significant other, my wife or former wife, are at odds, and
Yeah,
it the kid has to deal with that. And
especially young kids.
yeah, it's just I think it's I'd say more of a fear of being trapped in a bad situation, whether it's my fault or not, is more of the fear than just a blanket fear of divorce. But it's you could throw it in the same umbrella.
Yeah, to be honest, I think I'm actually am on pretty much the same page as you, Ghost. And the way I kind of describe it, and you can kind of correct me if I'm off bases. I think when it comes to our own respective lives, like we have a high level of control of what's going on in our lives. The choices that we make.
Yeah.
Like we put a decent amount of thought into it. So when we make our choices and our decisions, what to do in with our lives, we have a good level of confidence in it. And I think when it comes to marriage and this idea of like becoming intimately tied to this other person, I think not necessarily fear, because I'm on record, I don't have any fears. I think there's this general concern of like, I don't want to feel as if I made a mistake. Like, if I'm going to make this commitment, now that we kind of are all on the same page about what commitment is, or similar page, if I'm going to make this commitment and I'm going to effectively say, hey, everything that happens, or I'm involved with, or you're involved with, I want that person to be that person that I can trust 100%. And if you make a mistake and something needs to do, if at least if life leads to divorce, you feel like, damn, I thought this was the right choice, but I made a mistake and was somewhat out of control. So I mean, I don't want to do a whole thing, even though I do have a couple of thoughts and it's a whole podcast worth of material on the divorce and marriage and relationships. I would just say in general, for men, and this is applicable for women too, but for men, there's you can never be 100% sure, but that doesn't stop us from that shouldn't stop us from doing things in life. Obviously, we take risk in a lot of things when it comes to jobs, relationships with other men. Just there's a risk. There's a risk involved with everything in life. I would say when it comes to marriage, we should obviously do a decent level of vetting, and even if that's not going to get you to 100%, but it can get you to close to where you do feel safer in it. And everyone has their own vetting process. I just personally, what I would say to other men, I would say a good 9 months to a year. You do that vetting process. You really do your checks and balances. I think that can give you a good gauge of what you should do, whether marriage is viable or not. And then, yeah, I mean, just make sure you have that full transparency. Because on the one thing that I will say to women, and I'm talking like there's a bunch of women listening to us, but if any women do ever hear, if you truly do care about, we're always talking about, do people care about what men think? If you truly do care about men and what they think, do what you can to alleviate this concern or fear for some people of divorce, because a lot of the perception is, for a lot of men out here, especially even young men, which sucks, is I'm gonna get married to this woman, and at any point in time, she can divorce me for whatever reason. So there's gotta be action on both ends to alleviate the thought of a man potentially getting divorced and losing assets or feeling like he made a mistake in life somewhere along the line. But aside for that, I mean, I still say a general salute to Cam and salute to Dr. Bryant. I think they did have a little dope conversation, and I can, like I said, I can 100% understand Cam's perspective, and a lot of guys can, to be honest. Even they're nowhere, and people that are nowhere near Cam's level of wealth and status. But yeah, like I said,
I wouldn't salute Cam.
well,
Damn.
not for this specific conversation. I'm sure you understand. I'm talking about the fact that he's an established man. There's and some of this thing is like what you hear or don't hear.
We could salute without the cosign.
Well, I'm just saying.
Gotcha.
I think,
I didn't follow that. I got it now.
okay, fair enough. Because if every week we heard a story about him having problems with his child's mothers, and the child's mother would call him deadbeat dads, then I'll come on here and be like, hey man, this process ain't even working. But it seems like he's developing a system. He's being transparent, and he's obviously a whole legend in his respective field. So that's why I say salute.
Up and coming head coach, offensive coordinator, putting together a new playbook never before seen.
All right, and he's a dope streamer. Anyway,